Welcome to Royals Weekly. I am your host, Marcus Mead, and joining me as always, the undisputed king of Canadian reggae hip hop, my brother Mike.
You know it. The snow masters up there. We in the Great White North. We reggae. Lord of mercy, eh?
Yeah, reggae and hip hop. Think Snow's Informer. If you've ever heard
Yes.
that song, that's Mike.
Classic.
Basically, he stole that from Mike. Mike is the original, the original appropriator of several different types of music. That's his thing. That's his thing. So he makes the monies. On this week's episode, we're going to review a winning week for the Royals. It will be baseball talk for most of the episode. If you're new, we like to joke around a little to start off, but it will be baseball for most of it. So we'll talk about that very awesome week. Mike, how do you feel about I'm just like real happy all day today after the Royals come off such a winning week. It was great.
It's 7 home runs in a game today.
I know.
Royals record. Like, of course I'm happy. Yeah, we're bopping right now. You know.
You'll love it. We're going to take a bird's eye view of the season in our spotlight segment where we sort of discuss where we're at as a whole after that really tough opening month. And then we're going to preview this week's games because that's what we end up doing. We're back at home at Kauffman for 7 games this week. So a full slate of games this week. Hopefully, I think I'm going to go out to one of those games to take our mother out for Mother's Day to one of those games this week. So it should be fun. We do have to remind you before we move on to subscribe to that Royals Weekly Substack because we are putting out a ton of extra content. I dropped an article this morning about Vinny Pasquantino and Michael Massey, and both of them hit home runs today. Am I a prophet? I don't know.
You drop one about Hunter Renfroe?
Yeah, I think I should do that. I don't know if I can do that sort of work, but we're just getting a ton of extra stuff. We're coming out with 2 extra episodes every single week. For paid Substack subscribers, it's only $5 a month. The Mike's Drops episodes, that's all people can talk about. It's all people can talk about right now. They're so hot. Mike's putting out his own episodes every Thursday or Friday. It's coming out great. Make sure you're royalsweekly.substack.com. More than worth the money in my mind. I also want to remind you to rate and review us on Apple Podcasts and everywhere else that can be rated and reviewed. We do have a review to read for this week from somebody calling themselves Rusty Shackelford. I'm not sure who that might be. It just says Royal Family. That's the headline of it. It says, "Kinda wish I was the triplet to these brothers. Educated opinions, laughs beyond their years, and even the commercial takes are good. I'm glad you like the commercials. I work very hard on them. Always look forward to chilling with them in the background on a Monday or Thursday night." Fantastic. That's exactly how you should.
Thanks, Rusty.
You so much. Thank you so much, Rusty Shackelford. We really, really appreciate it. Be like Rusty. Go out there, fill out an Apple Podcast review, rate us somewhere. We really love reading them. We love hearing from you.
Rusty Shackelford sounds like a name in a John Steinbeck novel, or old Rusty Shackelford sits on the porch playing his harmonica.
We'll start our review of last week with roster news like we always do. There was a bunch of little small things on the roster or on the transaction sheet and everything. We're going to talk about the big ones, and then we're going to kind of breeze through the small ones. The biggest one to me anyway was that Noah Cameron was called up to make his MLB debut. Friend of the show, Noah Cameron. If you haven't listened to that episode, go back and listen to the interview we did with him in the offseason. It's wonderful. Very, very smart guy. Very great to talk about baseball with. He was called up to make his MLB debut. He did that in Tampa Bay as a spot start for Cole Reagans. He went 6 1/3 inning pitch, gave up 1 hit, took a no-hitter very deep into that game. 0 runs, 5 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Mike, what are your thoughts on Noah Cameron making his debut for the Royals?
My first thought is the Royals Weekly bump is alive and well.
It's alive and well.
Every time one of their prospects comes on here with us, they end up doing something fantastic that next season. So Royals prospects, maybe get on the list if you want to improve your career. First, just awesome for Noah Cameron. He was such a great dude. When we interviewed him, you could tell how eager he was to make his major league debut when we talked to him. And to come out and do that the way that he did was fantastic. And it's such a great start because the results were so good. But I think if he looks at it and when the team looks at it and he looks at it critically, they're going to find some areas to improve. He's going to be a little bit disappointed that he gave up 5 walks. I know Noah Cameron is going to feel that way. He's going to feel a little disappointed that he gave up some hard hit balls that went right to guys. So I think that there is area for improvement. I think he would say that his command could have been a little bit better, but wow, what a freaking outing. I mean, what a freaking debut. That's fantastic. He took a no-hitter into the 6th or into the 7th inning, I think, wasn't it? Yeah. Just a fantastic spot for him, and a great job to see. And it was fun to watch his stuff and how it would kind of play to major leaguers. I'm surprised he didn't lean a little bit more on the changeup, but the curveball looked really good to right-handers. I hadn't seen it that good in a long time. So very good to see how good that curveball is, and I'm excited for what Noah Cameron can bring this year and moving forward.
Yeah, it was great to see him. For him to have success in his debut there. That kind of relieves a lot of pressure, I feel like, and so he can go back to AAA. He can feel like, hey, I've gotten a taste. I did well. I belong up there, and he can continue to pitch like he belongs up there. I do think that you're going to see a slightly different kind of pitcher, Noah Cameron, in the major leagues than you saw even anywhere in the minor leagues. And this isn't just based on this one start. It's also based on spring training outings and some stuff we've seen against major league hitters. I think it's going to be a little bit less strikeout and a little more weak contact from him at the major league level, honestly, because we saw that's how he got through around the lineup against Tampa Bay. Only 3 strikeouts, but a lot of weak pop-ups, a lot of weak ground balls, a lot of weak fly balls, things like that. Some great defense behind him, which was great to see for the Royals to go out and do that for somebody making their major league debut. But it's just so happy for him because, hey, guess what? You are a part of this rotation's future. Like, you have now basically proven that you are ready to be a back end starter at minimum. At minimum, if somebody goes down, they won't be afraid to be like, all right, Cameron, you're up. Let's do it. And so it's great for him because the Royals might want to trade from their strength in pitching. They might want to, think about things that they want to do. It's not going to be very long before he's probably a mainstay in the rotation. The Royals also brought up Luke Maile. We're just going to talk about this for a second. He came up to spell Freddie Fermin for a minute at today's game because Salvi's still sort of working back from what was it, Mike, like a leg or hamstring or a groin or something?
Hip. It was hip soreness.
Hip soreness is what he's working back from. And so he wasn't going to catch today, but Fermin caught the last 2 games, and today was a day game after a night game. So they called Maile up. He caught today. 34-year-old, had a good game, hit a home run, had a walk, played great today. Mike, quick thoughts on Maile coming up today?
Just it's good to have a guy like that with major league experience stashed in AAA. I think that's fantastic. The JJ and even under Dayton Moore, honestly, they just had a knack for not only acquiring catchers, but being able to hang on to them and understanding who can competently play catcher at the major league level. And so it's really good to see we've got that and then so much more behind him in the system at the catching position.
Yeah, Maile, just a total pro out there today, went out and had a great game. Like he's 34
Caught
years
a great
old.
game.
Yeah. Imagine how much you must love baseball. I mean, Maile's played like parts of 7-ish seasons in Major League Baseball, but he chose to accept a AAA assignment as a 34-year-old, knowing that he might just get 1 or 2 chances throughout the course of the year, or maybe a month-long stretch here or a couple weeks there. And he's like, I'm fine with that. Let's go play some baseball. It's one of those things that's very admirable, I think, to see in a guy. Other tiny moves, Alec Marsh, and a lot of these were done to sort of make room for guys coming up to Major League Baseball. Alec Marsh and James MacArthur were moved to the 60-day IL. That doesn't really mean that much for either one of them at this point because they're both close to 60 days on the IL anyway, and so it'll get retroactive to whenever they first went on the IL, and so they're both pretty much ready to come back whenever they're physically ready to come back, which for both of them still looks like quite a ways off. Taylor Clark was called up for a minute. He pitched in today's game. We'll see how long he stays up for. But basically, the Royals are in the middle of a long stretch of games with no days off. And so he got some playing time in the Royals bullpen so far. And then Tyler Tolbert was optioned back to AAA as the Royals move guys around to accommodate a Salvi injury and then Cole Reagan's injury in the pitching staff there for a bit. And so Tolbert got optioned back to AAA. On the field this week, the Royals were spitting hot fire. They swept a 3-game series in Tampa Bay and then took 2 of 3 from the Orioles in Baltimore. Mike, the Royals are rolling, baby. What do you take away from this last week's game?
The offense really seems like they've started turning a corner, and that's what we needed. We needed the middle of that order especially to start turning a corner. And not only that, it doesn't look like Maikel Garcia is a fluke. It looks like he is legitimately carrying out that better approach and really making a difference for this lineup. Now that Vinny is hitting a little bit more, before Salvi went down with the injury, and even today, because he did hit today, he's been contributing a little bit more. It just means, and of course Bobby's insanely hot, pretty regularly. Jonathan India is looking better. So the offense has been a phenomenal kind of change here. I thought they might do well in this series hitting because the Orioles pitching staff is a bad. They're extremely bad. But you got to get healthy sometimes doing that. And I mean that metaphorically. You got to get healthy against pitching staffs as bad as Baltimore and go out there and get hits. And I'm hoping that the home run today is a relief for Michael Massey and we can start seeing him do a little bit more. But if the offense is now turning the corner and the pitching staff just stays what it is, this is going to be a dangerous baseball team.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. The offense seems like they're ready to turn that corner. I think it's interesting from when you look specifically at guys like Vinny and Massey, right? Like those two, I wrote about this today in the Substack, but the expected numbers are starting to look really good for Vinny, which is great. The expected numbers are starting to look pretty good for Massey. I still get really aggravated, and you still sometimes see it early in games, especially. Pitchers will be throwing him like change-ups away, and he's 0-0, and he's swinging at him, and it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you going to do with that ball out there, Massey? Nothing, absolutely nothing. And so, nice to see him sort of start catching some balls in the barrel, start lining some balls into the outfield, and then Vinny, he looks like he's kind of on it right now. Like he put a ball out today. He's sort of like finding ways to hit balls through holes and stuff.
Put one
like
out
that.
Yesterday too, didn't he? Yesterday or 2 days ago. Yeah.
Anyway, he's finding some power outcomes, learning to keep the ball fair, which is great. So yeah, those two are really turning around the middle of that order, or really Vinny mostly. Massey's sort of coming around. But everybody just doing a little bit to get better has sort of catapulted the Royals back into offensive relevance to some degree. Mike, with such a winning week, we're going to have lots to choose from strong performer-wise. Who did you decide to go with?
There were a ton of guys, and this guy wasn't the strongest performer. Michael Garcia was very obviously the strongest performer.
Obviously.
He was just on fire to a level we've never seen from him. But I didn't go with Michael Garcia. I went with Jonathan India because I think, in a way, Jonathan India might be even more important to the winning success of the team. India went 6 for 24, which batting average-wise is around 250, so it's not going to wow you there. But he's doing exactly what they signed him to do this week. He scored 5 runs that led the team this week. He hit 1 double, 1 home run, 1 RBI, but here's the big thing. He had 4 walks to 5 strikeouts. He's getting hits, but he's getting on base consistently. He had over 350 on base this week. And that's going to be the thing. Like he is going to be so valuable in the on base category, especially as Bobby and Vinny start to hit more. And that's going to produce runs that is stability, because he's going to get on base. Even when he isn't hitting, he's going to be getting on base some. And so can Bobby and Vinny stay consistent enough to drive him in? That will be the engine for this offense.
Yeah, great to see him get in there. And it's not a coincidence that he starts hitting and the rest of the offense starts scoring more runs. I mean, yeah, guys are putting balls out, but Jonathan India has been on base quite a bit, and that helps when 5 runs scored in this last week sort of point to that. Mike, do you remember what I set the over-under on for him for runs scored this season? And you and Alex called me crazy for setting it so low?
I don't remember now. Is it 100?
I set it at 90. And you were like, oh, he's going over 100 easy, both you and Alex. I'm like, I don't know. I think that's a pretty good number. Coming into today, this was before today, I just added it up real quick. He was on pace to have like 55 runs. And so, who's crazy now, buddy?
He's going over 90.
Over 90? Okay, we'll see. My strong performer for the week is one Freddie Fermin. You mentioned that Michael Garcia was the obvious pick. Freddie Fermin had quite a week himself, and like an 1,800 OPS or something. It was crazy. No, it was like 13, maybe. I don't know. But Fermin was really, really good. And there for a couple of games, it looked like, okay, it was like Fermin or Garcia was going to come through, and that was it. And so he went 7 for 15 last week, 1 double, 1 walk, 1 strikeout. He's coming through in multiple ways, though. Obviously, they need him to be a hitter when he's in there. But with Salvador Perez going down with the sore hip, he's showing us again how valuable he can be as a dude who can step in and not just catch once every 5th day or something like that, but catch you, 40 to 60 games in a season because your go-to catcher's 35 years old and weighs 270 pounds or something. Freddie Fermin is more than you could ever dream of and hope for from a backup catcher. And he just keeps doing it day after day. Gets very little plaudits for it outside of sort of the small Royals community, but what a valuable weapon for Matt Quatrero to have on the bench in a backup catcher like Freddie Fermin. Mike, some people did manage to not really thrive this week. Who was your week performer for the week?
It was hard to find one. I'm going to be
It was.
honest.
It
And I don't
was.
even like the guy you picked. I'm not even giving you that one.
I don't like it either because, yeah, he's fine. But like, I had to pick somebody.
That's right. It was very difficult to find somebody to pick. And so I went with the punching bag, the guy we've turned into a punching bag, and Hunter Renfroe, because I think this might be consecutive weeks for me picking Hunter Renfroe. 1 for 13 with 1 double, 1 RBI, 0 walks, and 2 strikeouts. There's not much more to say about the Hunter Renfroe experience. I'm sure he's a good person, but he's right now not doing anything of value really to help your baseball team. And so, I see why Drew Waters is getting a lot more playing time. I see why Hunter Renfroe just isn't. And Kevin Biggio has done some good things this week. He had a home run, stole a base today. I would take either one of those guys in right field over Hunter Renfroe right now. And when it's time for him to go, I hope the Royals are ready to pull the trigger.
Yeah, same. It's not even like a thing. It's like this happens to everybody. Eventually, y'all got to sort of stop, and that's sort of the thing. That's what's happening right now. And so,
unless there's a big change to his swing or his game,
maybe, yeah, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen it, and they've had 2 years to sort of enact that, and so. I don't have any big thing like I'm not digging into his. And although I will say last week he started to hit the ball a little bit better, and I started to feel a little bit better about what he was doing. But it also, to his credit and to sort of the Royals' credit in some ways, if you're not playing regularly, it can be tough to sort of get back into a groove. But you also can't play a guy regularly who is hitting that poorly, and so it's sort of a catch-22 there.
Yeah, he's got a 160 batting average, just in case you're curious.
That's not good. My week performer for the week is a guy who I was not even that committed to as a week performer because he did, it wasn't good, but it was not, it wasn't going to scream at you. He got 2 starts this week. That's Michael Lorenzen. He went 10 2/3 innings with 11 hits, 6 earned runs, 5 home runs, and 3 strikeouts. A lot of that came today.
Because he had a great start in that the Rays series.
Basically, all that was today. He gave up 5 earned, I think. Everybody was hitting balls out of the ballpark today in Camden Yards. So, no big deal. He's a 5th starter. He's still doing a great job as a 5th starter. Not worried at all about him. Mike, these themes better be pretty sunshiny this week because I'm feeling great about where the Royals are. What's your theme for this week?
Ooh, I went with a classic from the old Turnpike Troubadours. I love me some Troubadours. It's from a song called You Wrecked It All, which I've used this one before, I'm pretty sure.
That one's not as upbeat as I would expect a theme from this week to come from.
Oh, no, but
Wrecked It All.
Well, I mean, yeah, the song itself maybe not applies to this, but this line I'm going with is perfect for this. It's, you never see it coming till it's knocking out your teeth. Okay. And that's the Royals offense, baby. You don't ever see it coming till it's knocking out your teeth. 7 home runs in a single day style.
Kyle Gibson didn't see it coming.
Although we didn't hit him that well. We destroyed their bullpen, though.
Their bullpen was bad.
But yeah, what's his Cano didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really good to see them start knocking out some teeth with the long ball today. And even in the, what they 3 yesterday, 7 today, is that right?
Yeah.
Somewhere around there, and just absolutely pummeling the ball in Camden Yards. So good to see. Thank you, Turnpike Troubadours, for giving us that line and so many great other ones. And thank you, Royals offense, for really putting it on them today.
Yeah, that's very apt. That one,
Mark, you're going with some soft rock garbage, aren't you?
Mine's even better. Mine is much better than yours. Okay, and it fits perfectly. And I thought about it because one of the themes of the Substack I wrote this morning was sort of like, this is the team that I've expected to see from the very beginning, like spurts of offensive outbursts, but mostly, led by pitching and great defense, and it not great offense, but enough to get by. That's sort of what we've seen on this road trip, basically. Like, they're winning not every game with huge offensive outbursts. They still only scored like 4 yesterday or 3 or something like that, right? Like, they got blanked in the first game of the series, right? Like, it's just that they're pitching really, really well, and now they're starting to play better defense too. And so you're seeing like pitching good defense, keeping them every game. They win some of them 3-0. They lose some of them 4-2, and then they win some of them 8 or 11-6, like they did today. And so that's sort of we've made it to that point. And so I'm going with a classic from one Barry Manilow. For those of you who've heard of him, the young folks you may not have, but you'll hear the line and be like, oh, I've heard that somewhere before. Looks like we made it.
Give Manilow his props, ladies and gentlemen.
Give Manilow his props. Royals Weekly is brought to you by All In Physical Therapy, who are happy to announce that they will soon offer strength and conditioning programs for youth athletes. Starting in June, they'll offer strength and conditioning for athletes who want to gain an edge on the football field, basketball court, baseball field, you name it.
I need to get in on their speed training. This 11-year-old down the block has been talking some junk, and it's time to bring some clarity to the neighborhood.
Oh, yeah, old school styles. And of course, All In still offers the best recovery from total joint surgeries and sports injuries with offices in Blue Springs, Lee Summit, and Belton. They'll help you take care of your recently replaced hips, knees, shoulders, elbows, all of those things.
After my epic foot race with the kid down the street, I'm probably going to need all of that. I'm coming for you, Aiden.
All of it. If you're interested in reaching the peak of your athletic performance or getting back to 100% from injury, check out All In Physical Therapy at allin-pt.com. That's allin-pt.com. Or give them a call at 816-427-5300. That's 816-427-5300. For today's Spotlight segment, I want to zoom out a little bit. We spend a lot of time picking at the nitty-gritty of Royals baseball. We focus in on like one specific aspect of the team, offense, defense, pitching, base running, whatever. Today, I want to take a breath and consider where they are in relation to their schedule, which has been tough for most of this season, and where we thought and hoped that they would be at this point. So the Royals are currently 19-16. They've played what will probably be the toughest part of their schedule, that opening month. Mike, what's your overall estimation of how they've done relative to expectations?
Well, I thought roughly that the beginning part of this schedule, and basically that's April, I thought that would be tough and I would be happy with 500. But then when you watch how they played, it's like, okay, but your offense was so bad, it feels like you should be doing better. So the record was good enough, I would say, although there was a real bleak point there in the middle where they were like 8-14, and you're like, okay, this is not looking pretty. But I think overall at the end, you're like, I'm pretty happy with that. I'm pretty happy with 500, slightly above 500 after that rough patch, or after that really rough schedule. And now that we're starting to see the middle of the order perform the way that we thought that they would, it gives a lot of hope and optimism moving forward. And I went through and looked at their schedule for the coming up month, and I thought, there's some tough spots in there. We're going to see the Tigers, who are way better than what I thought they were going to be. We're going to see, the Red Sox, who are solid, but I feel like this team is in a good place right now, and their record is in a place where they're still competing heavily, not just for a wild card, but for the division even still. It's not, it's not like you're looking at it. They're in third in the AL Central, behind the Tigers, who are in first, and the Guardians, who I think are a game and a half or 2 games above them. And I think they're in fine position. Completely okay with that.
Yeah, I think Ryan says this saying all the time on the broadcast. You can't win a division in April, but you can lose one, right? And so they didn't lose the division in April, and that's great. Actually, I'm taking a lot of positivity from where they're at right now, because they're 3 games over 500, because they're on pace for 88 wins, and yet their offense hasn't done anything, right? Like, that's sort of, to me, a sign for optimism. That's like, okay, what happens when this offense gets going? Are we, capable of a lot more? And the schedule gets softer, right? Like, the next month of the games, we're going to talk a little bit about here in a second, not nearly as hard as that first month of games. And so, yeah, they got some, Boston is a 500 team right now. Detroit's really, really good, but they got the White Sox in there. They got the Reds in there. They got, they got
Giants.
The Giants. They got some beatable teams in there. And if their offense is ready to start performing like it did in Baltimore and even in Tampa Bay to some degree, guess what? They're going to have a lot easier time with this next stretch of games. Mike, over this first, I guess, month and a half to 2-ish months, April, May, I'm not good with the way
it's like a month and a week.
Okay, like this month and a week. Give me one player who has overperformed your expectations.
Michael Garcia, gotta go with him.
He's the boy.
Absolutely love what he's done so far. 97th percentile in square up percentage for him. 88th percentile in chase rate. If you go look at his baseball savant page, by the way, it's Russia in 1920. It's just all red
out there. It's
okay?
all red.
It's all red. 88th% chase rate, doing really good on that. 94th% whiff rate, and so it's really, and that's really an indication of what it has turned it around for him. It has really been the approach that has turned it around. You and I have talked heavily about, okay, if he pulls the ball in the air more, it's going to lead to more success. He has done that a little bit more. He's definitely up in the pull in the air percentages, but he's still pretty low in Major League Baseball for that. But I think what he's done is he's figured out when the best time for him to do that is. Mm-hmm. And he knows, like, okay, when it's an advantageous count, I'm pulling the shit out of this baseball. If it's not an advantageous count, I'm spraying to the right side. Like that's my go-to, and I'm not swinging at anything that's not going to allow me to do those things. Mm-hmm. And he's just done very, very well with it. And this past week, we even saw some more success on the base paths because he can steal bases really well when he's on with that too. So also throw in this because I put it up there as well. And his average exit velocity is up 3 miles per hour from last year. He's in the 91st percentile in average exit velocity. And that's, I mean, all those things are just going to be really, really good for him. So it's been a breath of fresh air. And then you see him playing that really good defense. That second game of the Baltimore series at third, he's playing fantastic defense. He's got the ability to play Gold Glove level defense. He's got a good arm. I don't know that it's an elite arm at third base, but he's so much quicker and can pick anything that he's always going to be Gold Glove caliber or just below that at third. And so what an asset to have. And you know, even we don't like to think of it because, you know, it would be disastrous, but even if Bobby ends up going down or has to miss a few stretches of games, you got a guy to plug in and play short. And it's like, what an asset. And I'm really, really glad that he was able to make this adjustment, not personally for him, for his career, because this is going to mean a lot for him moving forward.
Oh, this is going to mean a ton for him moving forward. This is the difference between sort of jumping from team to team, getting a contract as a utility infielder, and being a really sought after commodity on the free agent market if he ever makes it there, or getting a long-term extension from the Royals or something like that. Because right now he's an all-star. I mean, right now he coming into today, he had a 130 weighted runs created plus, and he hit 2 damn home runs today, and he got a third hit too. Like tomorrow it's going to be 140 at least, right? And so you're talking about a guy who plays Gold Glove caliber defense at third and is also going to probably be one of the 5 most valuable offensive players at third. And so it's like, yeah, that's an all-star in my book, you know, like, and so, you know, it's amazing to see what he has done. I heard some people talking previously when you and I were big on like, pull the ball in the air, pull the ball in the air, pull the ball in the air. We're like, yeah, but it's not that easy. It takes swing changes and this and that. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Okay. All it takes for him is an approach change. Try and pull the ones that are in the middle or inside. Try and hit the other ones away. That's all he's doing, and it's working out really great for him. My player performing expectations is another one that's going to get universal, agreement, I think, and that's Chris Bubich from the pitching staff. We hoped he could come in and like fill Brady Singer's shoes to some degree. Weren't sure that was going to be the case. He has been dynamite for the Royals so far. In 7 games started, he's got 41 innings pitched, 1.98 ERA, a 2.84 FIP, just controlling games from the left side, mixing pitches really, really well, executing his fastball up in the zone. It's like the toughest low 90s fastball to face in baseball, I think.
Who'd have thought? Who'd have thought that Chris Bubich would be like, I'm going to start dominating with my fastball?
Yeah. When he was drafted, you could have never convinced me that his fastball was going to be a weapon. In fact, for the first few years in the major league, I didn't think of it. And then this new pitching regime was like, you're perfect because you're only 6'2" or 6'1", and you get really, really low. We're going to make your release point really low. Nobody's going to hit your fastball. That's what it turned out to be. Like, great, perfect, awesome. Do it for everyone. And so, Chris Bubich has just been, and now the Royals have, a 1 through 5 that you can put up basically against any 1 through 5 in Major League Baseball. So it's great. Mike, we've talked about the overperformers. Who has underperformed a little bit, expectations for this season?
Yeah, got to go with Michael Massey here because he was the pick to be the 5th hitter, at the beginning of the year. You wanted him to be able to fill that 5 spot competently and show that he could at least have an approach that allowed him to maximize that pull side power, and he just has not been able to do that. And partially is because we haven't seen him make that big adjustment that we've seen Michael Garcia make. We haven't seen him go, okay, I see what they're trying to do to me. I'm going to adjust to make sure I can still tap into what I'm best at doing. His average exit velocity is down 2 miles per hour this year so far. And he has one of the lowest walk rates in Major League Baseball. It's 1.7%.
Woo! That's Salvi in his prime, if you know what I'm saying.
It's so low. That is so low. If you just stand there every at bat for every game, you're going to have a walk rate higher than 1.7%, ladies and gentlemen. He's got a minus here. This was very interesting because I think it lends itself to the idea that there's going to be improvement here at the very least. Even if nothing really changes, I feel like there's going to be improvement because he's got a -5 run value in the heart of the zone. That means in the middle of the zone, he is missing and he is not doing the damage that he should be doing right in the heart of the plate. Now, the other bigger problem, if he really wants to take it to the next level, he's got a -8 run value in the shadow of the zone. So on the edges of the zone, and he swings at those pitches more than any other. And so if he can reduce how much he's swinging at those pitches and start doing a little bit of damage on the ones that are down the middle, which that's where Major League Baseball players make their money. When guys make mistakes in the middle of the plate, you have got to do damage on them. He's not even doing damage on those. And so I think there is room for improvement there, but he's got to make an adjustment long-term to be less aggressive, to wait for pitches that are in places that are advantageous for him. And that's going to be kind of what determines if he can be an everyday second baseman moving forward.
Yeah, and the Royals are, of course, really hoping that he can be. They love his defense at seconds. They love the fact that he has some power potential and some loft to his bat. But if your approach is just absolute garbage, you're sort of swimming up current. You're fighting a tide that you really can't fight for that long. And so, yeah.
Well, and remember, when you walk not at all, you have no other value than doing it with the bat, right? Mm-hmm. He doesn't have any value in on-base ability. He doesn't really have any base running value either. His glove is good at second, but not elite. And so he has to produce a little bit of power with the bat, a little bit of batting average, and he's not doing that.
No, he's not. Hopefully this next guy started to turn it around a little bit. It's odd because he was on your hot players and he has been hot this last week, but over the course of the whole season so far, hasn't really been what the Royals expected or were hoping for. That's Jonathan India, as somebody who's underperformed my expectations. Again, good and bad news there, right? They've managed to go 19-16 while he's been underperforming, and it looks like he's getting it going. Imagine what good they could do now. He has a 76 weighted runs created plus on the season. That was probably coming into today. That's a 328 on-base percentage and a 265 slugging with that. No power outcomes from him. We knew that he wouldn't have real power outcomes. We kind of hoped that maybe he could get balls into the gaps in Kaufman, but now he's hitting more weak fly balls than he is hard line drives. And so he did manage to hit one out of Camden today, so the power numbers will go up a little bit. But we'd like to see more on base than that 328 and more power outcomes from him to some degree. A few more extra base hits here and there will go a long way for Jonathan India. I will say I've been a little bit happier with how he's been playing the outfield. He made a good catch today, even though the route looked a little bit shaky.
There was one yesterday that looked terrible.
But I'm a little bit happier with the idea of him playing in left because Garcia has looked so good at third, and now he's looking like he can hit like a third baseman. So just place him at third. You have your best infield defense. India can play left. He can play second. He can DH. That's good enough. I think that's fine. Mike, give me one player who will have to improve for the Royals to make the playoffs.
I'm going to go with Vinny Pasquantino. I think he needs to continue to improve, continue to do what he's done this past week and not what he was doing before that. Because I think you have a path. You can patch up that bottom of the order with guys like Marc Canha, with guys like Kevin Biggio, with Drew Waters, to kind of cover up some of the lack of production in the bottom half of that lineup. But the engine of this offense is always going to have to be Bobby Witt Jr., Vinny Pasquantino, Salvador Perez. And Vinny has got to pick it up and keep it there to drive in Jonathan India and Bobby Witt Jr. as they're getting on base, that is going to be what determines how consistent this offense can be. So Vinny Pasquantino is the key to me, which I actually said before the season even started, and then he came and just dropped a dump on the middle of the plate. I think he has a chance here now to start getting hot and become an offensive driver for this team. And if he can do that and not get hurt, because let's remember what happened last year. They finally had the offense kind of humming, or they had the offense humming pretty well. The consistency wasn't great, but they were doing enough. And then he gets hurt and it falls off a cliff. Okay. We can't have him fall off a cliff in performance or get hurt. And I think if he can stay healthy and do that, I think we're going to be okay.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Love to see more from him. I'm going to choose Hunter Renfroe because you took the biggest one in my mind. I thought about Massey, but then I also thought to myself, there's actually a decent chance that they could get by without him. Like they can do things like move Garcia to second, have India play third, or bring up Nick Lofton or something like that. Like it's not inconceivable that somebody else could just take his place and be fine. Hunter Renfroe, they could do the same thing for him, obviously, but it looks like he's going to get playing time. Like it looks like they're going to be committed to continuing to play him. If they were thinking about getting rid of him, I think they would have done it by now, right? Like maybe I'm wrong. Maybe like they come back to Kansas City and it's like, you don't have a job anymore, Hunter. But as far as I can see, if he's going to remain on the 26-man roster, he's got to be hitting more than he's doing right now. And maybe that's just finding advantageous places for him. Maybe it's some improvement on his part, hitting more line drives. I don't know, but it can't be this bad the entire season. Mike, really quickly, let's move on from this segment, but I want to get your best prediction for what the record will be for the rest of this month.
So they got 24 games left in this month against a good run of teams or solid run of teams. I'm going to go 14-10 for those 24 games with the caveat that they win the Tiger series. Okay. That's my one thing. If you're going to go 14-10, you got to win that Tiger series. If they don't win the Tiger series, I want one more win. So 15-10 if they don't win the Tiger series.
Okay. I'm going to go 13-11. I feel like
you're a loser.
I feel like so they're 3 games up right now over 500. If we want to get to 88 wins, I figure you get like 3 games a month, to stack on top of that 3-game lead you already have. This gives them an extra 2 games over 500. So there'd be 5 games over 500 after May. That's a pretty good position to be 88 wins, which is roughly where we thought they'd be. Royals Weekly is brought to you by Eric Oxer of West USA Realty. Do you have the same fantasy Mike and I do, retiring to a land of eternal summer where you can just hang out and do whatever you want? If so, you need to give Eric Oxer of West USA Realty a call pronto. He can help you transition to a lovely home in the Phoenix area and a life of fun in the sun.
Crack a cold beer on the berm at spring training and just lay there until the security guards forcibly remove you.
Yes, that's our move. Eric was one of the top real estate agents in the Phoenix area to end 2024 because he gives all of his clients a personal experience focused entirely on their needs. With Eric Oxer of West USA Realty, it's not about him. It's about you. He's there to listen to you, work for you, and guide you through the ins and outs of buying and selling in the Phoenix area.
For the most part, they don't have basements in Phoenix, so no worries about an enormous crack in your foundation, huh, Mark?
Yeah, nice. None. Yeah, that sounds real nice right now. Find Eric Oxer of West USA Realty online at ericoxer.com. That's ERICKAUXIER.com. Or just give him a call or shoot him a text at 480-383-9745. That's 480-383-9745. If you're at all interested in what a life in the Phoenix area might hold, let him make the experience all about you. It's another homestand for the boys this week as they play a full slate of games in Kaufman against teams named after different colors of laundry. 4 games against the White Sox and 3 against the Red Sox. Mike, I was going to make a communism joke in here about the Reds and the Whites, but I think it would be hat on a hat. Just too many things going on. It's an all laundry homestand. Mike, tell us about the Whites. I'll take the Reds. Oh, wait, I threw it in there anyway.
If you're a fan of the Russian Revolution, you're going nuts right now.
Russian Revolution.
You're going nuts right now. They didn't have to do Trotsky like that. That's all. Anyway, the White Stockings, the laughing stock of the AL Central, ladies, the fighting Chris Getzes, 10-24, last in the AL Central. they're doing these days. Just a
But they're not the
pathetic
worst
show.
in baseball. That's the
No,
Rockies.
they are not. The Rockies are, oh man, they're so bad. All right. And actually, a little bright spot in that first game for them. In this first game, we'll have Cole Reagans going, and they'll have Shane Smith, 25-year-old righty out of Wake Forest with a 2.23 ERA and a 1.08 whip. He's got a four-seam fastball in the mid-90s, a changeup, a slider, a curveball, a sinker, and a sweeper. His expected ERA is a bit higher at 3.97, and he's got a 3.67 expected weighted on-base average against his fastball. But he has been the bright spot in the rotation, a bright spot in the just bleakness and gloom of that organization right now. Shane Smith will be who we see in game one there. Game two, we'll see Seth Lugo go against Sean Burke, a 25-year-old righty out of Maryland. 4.91 ERA and a 1.36 whip for him. He's also got a four-seam fastball in the mid-90s, a slider, a curveball, a sinker, and a changeup. His fastball has been pretty effective, but everything else is getting killed. This is one of the biggest splits I've seen in quite a while. A 7.55 expected ERA for him, which is among the worst in Major League Baseball. So he's maybe getting a little bit lucky for Sean Burke, and who we'll see there in game two. In that third game, it'll be Michael Wacha versus Jonathan Cannon, a 24-year-old righty out of Georgia with a 4.26 ERA and a 1.45 whip. He's a cutter. He leads with his cutter, changeup, sinker, a four-seam fastball at 93 or 94, and a sweeper. His fastballs and breaking balls grade out very poorly. His changeup is a good pitch. He's basically a one-pitch pitcher right now. Is he just throwing that cutter there, Mark?
No, the changeup is the only one of his that has any value. All the rest of them get destroyed.
Okay, well, gives up a lot of pulled contact in the air, so maybe the boys can lift it and get it out of the park against old Jonathan Cannon. In that last game, it'll be Chris Bubich versus Davis Martin, a 28-year-old righty out of Texas Tech. He's got a 3.52 ERA and a 1.36 whip. Four-seam fastball at 93 to 94, a changeup, a slider, a cutter, a sinker, and a curveball. He gives up a lot of hard contact, almost 50% hard hit rate, which is the 9th percentile. And he's got a 5.92 expected ERA. So there's some regression possibly coming for Davis Martin. After that, we'll see the Red Stockings of Boston, the Bean Town. What do you got about the Boston Red Sox?
Well, the Red Sox started out real hot, and they've since cooled off quite a bit. They're 18-18. That's second in the AL East behind the Yankees.
Plus, they just lost their first baseman for the year, didn't they?
They did just use their first baseman for the year. Tristan Casas went down with, I think, an ACL tear.
Ruptured patella tendon.
Ruptured patella.
Yeah.
That's what I don't take the specifics of it. On offense, though, they can still hit the baseball. They are 8th in Major League Baseball with a 111 weighted runs created plus. They're getting a great season so far out of free agent signing Alex Bregman. Christian Campbell also doing quite well with a 156 weighted run created plus. And Rob Refsnyder also has a 152 weighted runs created plus, which is doing very well. Cassis actually wasn't hitting very well when he got hurt. He had only like a 72 or something like that.
Is Devers not hitting either?
Nope, Devers is hitting pretty well too. He's over 100, I believe. They got a pretty deep lineup that's doing fairly well. That's how you make it to 8th in Major League Baseball. There.
You just knew Bregman was going to be pounding balls off that monster. It was like a perfect park for him.
Yeah, it is. I was skeptical of a Bregman signing because of his age and the metrics on his swing and stuff like that. But he did find a great place to land because a right-hander just pounding balls off of the Green Monster is a good idea. On the pitching side, they're worse than they are on the hitting side, though they do have one like a gaggle of starters who look pretty promising. They're 16th in Major League Baseball with a 9.63 ERA. Garrett Crochet
means a 3.96. A 9.63 would be unbelievable.
I do mean a 3.96. I wish they were.
That's a Rockies ERA.
What do they call it when it's dyslexia for numbers? I might have that.
I know. Dysgraphia? Is that what?
Maybe. I don't know. Garrett Crochet is their big ace. They acquired him in the offseason from the White Sox. He got a 2.05 ERA. They have this trio of young pitchers who only made a couple starts this season. We know one of them is Brian Bello, and then Richard Fitz and Hunter Dobbins. But they're all putting up respectable starts so far. What, you like the name Hunter Dobbins?
No, Brian Bello reminds me of that skit.
Brian Bello, yes, I know.
Tracy Morgan.
I said it. Might be bio, I don't know. Their bullpen, though, has been pretty mid, and as a result, that's sort of what dragging down their pitching staff as a whole. So let's hope we can get a couple of games from them. We'll end this week's episode like we end every episode with the Just a Bit Outside segment where we talk about something that's interesting to us outside the world of baseball. Mike, your life is like a 24/7 discotheque. What exactly has been going on in the last 7 days for you?
Oh yeah, it's Studio 54 out here in Greenwood, ladies and gentlemen. Not much going on with me, but I wanted to lay something on some people if you're looking for an answer in these uncertain financial times. One thing that I like to do is obsessively keep track of my money.
Obsessive about it.
Obsessive about it. Every single day, basically, pretty much every day, I take a look at all of my money. Okay. That is financial investments, that is bank accounts, all that sort of stuff. But I don't, because I'm obsessive about it, I can't go to like 20 different places to do it. And by the way, nobody paid us to say this. I realize I'm talking like this was a paid advertisement. It was not. Okay. This is just me giving out some advice of keep track of your money, find an easy way to do it. Find a place where you can look and see how your investments are doing. Don't let that freak you out into making rash decisions. But I think it's always smart to know how much your money is growing, whether it could be doing better, what you can do. And by the way, I am an advocate of doing it all yourself. I'm not a big fan of financial advisors. I think a lot of financial health you can just figure out on your own and do it yourself. Like there's YouTube videos you can go watch where people will tell you exactly what you need to do, and you don't need, and the financial advisors will do those same things for you and take money from you. And so I use something called Empower. It used to be called Personal Capital. It is completely free. They will try to sell you stuff on occasion, but it's nothing super annoying. But I get to look at every retirement account, and I have a lot of them for a weird reason. For weird reasons, I for some reason have a ton of accounts. I wish I didn't have as many. I wish they were more consolidated and there was more money in them. I wish that too. But
Me too.
but it's a great way to take a look at everything that I have, and I put my credit cards on there too, just to track that without having to get into multiple accounts or anything. You can put your bank accounts in there. You can put retirement accounts in there and things too. But it'll track like how your investments are doing. It will even track if you put like your credit cards in there, your spending and things like that. I don't use it as much for that, but I like to keep track of my retirement investments and all those sorts of things through one easy place to go. And if you're looking like, well, I don't want to go on to a third party thing that I got to give more of my information to and that sort of stuff, that's fine. Most banks offer some sort of thing like this too. And so you can go to your bank and ask if they have a personal wealth tracker, and you can usually add any other outside accounts from your that aren't part of your bank to that. And so I highly recommend using something to, and you don't have to be obsessive like I am and check it every single day, but you should definitely know what you're doing, and you should like what your money's doing and how much money it's earning for you. Okay. That if you want to know, that's how the wealthy get wealthy. They don't get wealthy because they worked hard for it. It's because their money is making money. And go out there and you can do that same thing. Just keep track of how you're doing it.
Yes, very wise, very good idea. Keeping track of all that stuff is a wonderful thing. I do it quite often myself, and so can't recommend that enough. I'm talking about another thing that is very adulty. Mike, there's an adult theme to this just about outside. I'm talking about like how to manage the types of stress that you get as an adult from adult problems. And so over the course of the last week, I had 2 adult related stressors come into my life. One, home repairs that I needed. Somebody gave me an estimate for an insane amount of money to repair my foundation because there's a crack in it. And then, so I was stressing out about that. And then in the same week, my partner got a brand new car a couple weeks ago, and the transmission failed. And so need a new transmission. So that's like even a lot more money. And it's like, that'll stress me out when I have to do all this. Plus it's a lot of work to like get people to give estimates or see how much stuff costs and like figure out what you're going to do. Like that's just a lot of work unto itself. And so I'm here to sort of make us aware that that stress exists, but then also to stress to lean on other people whenever you're having that stress. And so my partner has the car thing that makes her very overwhelmed, very stressed. And so I take on some of the tasks related to doing that, right? I call around to transmission places for her and say, like, what will you give? Like, how much would it cost to replace this transmission or whatever, right? I do all that stuff for her. She feels better about it, right? When I'm work stressed, she makes me feel better by taking on like household chores for me, like, and stuff like that. Like it gets a lot easier if you're sharing those stresses and sharing those responsibilities with other people. And Mike is a great example. He came by today, looked at the crack for me in my foundation and was like, hey, you may not actually need to pay to have that done. And I'm like, okay, great. And so, he gave me some tips on what I can do to just patch up the crack and not have to actually worry about it. It's really great stuff. And so, yeah, just throwing it out there that if you're super stressed with all the things adulthood brings to you, look and see if you can find some people to help when you're feeling particularly stressed. There's a great sort of method for relationships like this where you just share like, hey, I only have 20% today, not 100% because I've got so many stress out things on me. Just an idea, just a thought. Mike, I'm sure you and Morgan share stuff all the time.
Well, she shares with me.
Yeah. She shares the stress things with me.
I just, I don't know what I do to cope. I don't know. Not sure.
That's a visual gag that will only show up on YouTube, but you should definitely watch it.
But yeah, we're doing okay.
We're doing all right. All right, that's all we have for this week. The Royals are also doing okay. Tune in next week when we're hopefully talking about a 7-0 week. Until then, be good to each other.
And go Royals.